With another year of anime gone, that's a whole lot of shows that we're going to leave behind us. Which isn't to say that we'll automatically forget all of the wonderful shows that have blessed our wonderful year this year, but it's still a fact that we'll move forward with an industry that doesn't seem to want to stop. Some shows will probably get swept under the rug, not because they're inherently bad or for really any reason, just that we're moving so far forward that it's hard to keep up. So I wanted to take some time to look back and give an extra plug to some shows that you may have missed. You know, ending the year on a positive note. To keep things light and short, I'll only be looking at a single show for each season, and I'll also probably be repeating myself since I am plugging shows that I have made previous videos on. To start things off chronologically, we'll begin at the start of the year, winter. This specific winter season was stacked to the brim with so many shows that were pretty damn good. And if not that, then at least polarizing and grabbing the brunt of attention. And I think one such show that was more or less shafted throughout this endeavor was Hakume to Mikochi. Hakume to Mikochi is a slice of life show that falls under the category of Iyashike, or healing. It is a very light-hearted, wholehearted, and wholesome show featuring the lives of two tiny little people, Hakume and Mikochi. It's chock full of antics, but there is charm, and there are interesting tidbits of the world and of their characters that are thrown in that makes the show very intriguing while also doing its job of being light. That's one of the main selling points of the show. It has a nuanced fantasy world that we don't often see be taken this seriously. We get to explore with the two main characters this world, along with meeting the inhabitants of the world. This is a lived-in place with characters that spice up the episodic atmosphere by recurring and playing their own little roles in the wider sphere of the story. The story is more or less a fluff piece, but some of the characters do actually have backstories, and we do see development, and the interplay and characterization of everyone is there. It was simple, yet effective, working in tandem with the light tone. Hakume to Mikochi really did feel fresh and new, despite being what you might just see as another slice of life. But its attention to its fantasy world and its characters really had me reeled in, and it was a show that I wanted to see more of. Spring is also another season that just had so many things going on, and so many things going wrong. And although I'd love to plug Amanchu Season 2 or To Be Heroine, these are second seasons. But still, great shows that would also fit the bill here, so I'm just gonna say to really check these shows out because they were probably overshadowed. But my pick for a show that you should check out is Hisone to Masadan, or quite simply, Dragon Pilot. The premise is definitely one that hooked me in from the get-go. In the broadest terms, Hisone, who's working for the Japanese Air Self-Defense Force, accidentally stumbles upon a national secret: dragons, who are also disguised as fighter planes because that's a thing. The show is wacky to all hell, and even from the art style and colors and animation you can tell that the show is very lighthearted by nature. Dragon Pilot, by all means, is a fun show, but it's also very serious, creating a dichotomy between its plot and character-driven storytelling. There's an extremely heavy-handed overlying plot, but at the end of the day, this show is about character growth and seeing the cast work together and play off of one another as they learn how to pilot dragons. One of my favorite aspects of the show is that it takes broad themes that we're so used to and explores them in a way that I don't see often. The show pushes the characters to tackle these problems with the absurdity of the situations that they're put in, which mirrors how we're seeing the show. But at its core, it is lighthearted in its presentation, and as it moves forward, it gets heavier. And the dramatic elements of the show shined when they really got to it. Although there is a case that it could be overdramatic, that the plot was so larger than life that it felt kind of silly, and the ending might reflect that a lot. But again, this is a very silly show at the end of the day. This begins as a silly show, and it ends in a very lighthearted way, and it works in both spheres of tonal shifts, and it kind of brings an interesting interplay of how to work with tonal shifts in not only the narrative movement, but also in the production with the art and the music and all of the other elements, such that the tonal shifts actually do work. And it's a very interesting way to look at how to do that and how to maintain atmosphere and how to make sure that the atmosphere of the show stays true despite having these shifts. So it's a very interesting show to look at in that aspect, while also being a very entertaining show that had fun characters and a pretty interesting plot when they got to it. Summer is a hard one for me since I feel like there are two really great shows that deserve the limelight. But for the video's sake, I can only fit one, so I'll have to give Starlight the Starlight. Shoujo Kageki Review Starlight is a show that I still think about, that I'll still probably have in my mind for a while, simply because it left such a strong impression on me. Was it the story? Well, kind of, but not really. Starlight had a very tried story about a feeder or performing arts academy and a particular class that's trying to put on the best damn play that the world's ever seen. However, things get complicated, really complicated, as a secret underground audition takes place with the characters all wrapped up in fierce battle, literally. And this will not only test out their ability to perform, but also their will to perform. This show, to its core, borrows from the idol genre. It at first appears like it's nothing we haven't seen before, and the construct revolves around these very true to idol genre themes like passion and drive, this drive to do your best and to make something beautiful and to push yourself to reach for the starlight. And yeah, these are all themes that I love seeing being explored. But never have I been bamboozled in this way and have the entire show just say, nope, this actually isn't just your fun little idol romp. It's an actually pretty serious character drama with action, and it's not really magical girls, but it's this weird gray area. In fact, beyond this simplistic story turned complex, beyond the characters that actually were fun to watch and engaged me, was the production that held everything together, that made the show make even more sense. Starlight was well produced, from the directing to the musical accompaniment to the choreography, that it at times felt like I was watching theatrics. The show was a spectacle in not only the narrative, but also in how it was created. And I don't fault it for being a spectacle. This show is explosive, but at its core was also very thought-provoking in criticizing the very genre it's in. And it does so in such a flavorful way, offering so many different avenues to tackle, while also being engaging and exciting, and having really good forward momentum in its plot. I honestly can't recommend this show enough, and it has so many moving parts that even if you may not find one particular aspect too appealing, like, again, the idol genre, or even the action and kind of the magical girl stuff, or even if you didn't like character drama, because there's kind of a lot of that, I feel like Starlight does a good job in blending those aspects and making a really great case for introducing certain things about the medium and bringing them up and playing around with them that makes Starlight such a rich show to explore. And now we're full circle to this season. And although in another timeline I would say SSSS Gridman as a show to look out for, I feel like it's already done its job in that department. Instead, I like to push Bloom Into You as a show that definitely deserves some attention. Bloom Into You, for all general purposes, is a Yuri show. Not Yuri undertones, but it's Yuri. But the great thing about the show is that it's not really about Yuri. Not in the way that you might be inclined to think Yuri shows are if you've watched, like, I don't know, Citrus. Bloom Into You is more of a character drama that focuses on romance second. This show deals heavily on themes and topics about self-identity, self-worth, and how to deal with living when everything around you seems to be a lie. A byproduct of these themes is the show's tendency to focus on interiority, which is reflected in the directing and often hidden in the calming light atmosphere. Yes, I'd say this show, to some remarks, is slow. Things happen at a relaxed pace, but to me, that only helps let the show really flesh out and introduce the characters and all the different aspects we're dealing with. This is a Yuri show that doesn't even feel like a Yuri show. I often forget, nor does it feel like I'm watching a romance, because again, it does a really good job of just not focusing too much on those genres and really playing towards any kind of cliches or stereotypes they might be falling into. But yes, those elements are still there, and are there wonderfully, But the show for me is just a really touching and heartwarming show dealing with heavy topics in a very engaging way, utilizing its medium to the T. This year has been great. A lot of really good shows have aired, and of course, a lot of shows have aired that might not have caught the limelight. But it was a really amazing season, and in many ways, that is a good indicator for, hopefully, another great season for the coming year of 2019.